And Vice President, can you share what the agents at the last stop talked about?
They've got a tough job, and they need rightly support to do their job. And they work long hours. They're very dedicated, and so I'm here to talk with them about what we can continue to do to support them, and to also thank them for the hard work they do.
What about biggest concerns?
Thank you.
Stricter action.
So we got to talk about Kamala Harris and her recent border visit. But first, did you guys notice, like, she didn't seem like a very confident person as she was answering the question, looking down at the ground and whatnot. And granted, I don't always stare directly into the camera. Sometimes I'm looking over here at my screen to make sure that my next video is queued up and ready to play. But when you're directly talking to people, you typically want to look at who you're talking to. And did you guys notice? She was just like, yeah, we're gonna, we met and we're gonna talk about, and they need support, and like, why does she keep looking down? Like, to me, that seems like somebody who is very unsure of themselves and very unconfident. Not confident at all. That doesn't give me a presidential type of feeling, to say the least. But there was some bombshell news that broke yesterday, and I actually made a YouTube short on it. And if you don't check out my YouTube shorts, I highly encourage you to do so. But for those of you that may have missed my YouTube short yesterday, check out the bombshell news that broke yesterday as Kamala was doing her photo op at the border. And then we're going to get into what some swing voters had to say about Kamala's visit. All right. With that being said, let's dive in.
Yeah, and Sandra, bear with me. We just got these numbers moments ago, but it's a jaw dropper to say the least. So to set the stage here, let me just explain what these numbers mean. ICE has something called a non-detained docket. Essentially what that is it means migrants who were encountered by DHS but are no longer in federal custody. So who's on this non-detained docket? It's illegal immigrants who were caught and released at the border, released with the court date years away. They're in immigration proceedings, combined with illegal immigrants who have already been ordered deported from the country by a judge but are still here roaming the country. So keep that in mind, this non-detained docket. According to a letter that the acting director of ICE just sent to Texas Congressman Tony Gonzalez, on ICE's non-detained docket, they're currently tracking 425,000 non-citizens who have been convicted of a crime. Of that number, over 13,000 non-citizens have convictions for homicide and are on the non-detained docket, meaning they're roaming the country right now. On top of that, there are another 15,811 non-citizens convicted of sexual assault who are roaming the country right now on ICE's non-detained docket. It doesn't stop there. Those are convictions. The ICE director also says there are currently just under 1,900 non-citizens on the non-detained docket who have pending homicide charges who are roaming the country, and another 4,250 non-citizens who have pending sexual assault charges who are roaming the country on the non-detained docket. So people's eyes might be glazing over right now with all the numbers we just threw at you. Just to put it in a nutshell right here, what we've learned from the acting ICE director via this letter to Congressman Tony Gonzalez is right now there are over 13,000 illegal aliens convicted of homicide who are roaming the United States right now. There are another 15,811 illegal aliens roaming the country right now who have been convicted of sexual assault, and there are even more who are facing charges for homicide and charges for sexual assault. So this just goes to show, guys, the non-detained docket has exploded under the Biden administration to over, I believe it's 7.3 million. They're anticipating it could hit 8 million by the end of the year. But looking at the numbers on this letter right here, there are currently over 600,000 non-citizens on ICE's non-detained docket who are either convicted, 600,000 non-citizens on this non-detained docket who are roaming the country right now. Of that, 425,000 have already been convicted of crimes. 222,000 are pending crimes. And again, the most serious crimes we just told you about, over 13,000 convicted of homicide, over 15,000 convicted of sexual assault. And honestly, that is not a surprise to hear given these horrible headlines we keep seeing popping up in multiple parts of the country almost every day now of a horrible sexual assault or a murder or another violent felony committed by an illegal alien.
Yeah. So once again, Trump wasn't lying. When Trump said that they are emptying their prisons, he wasn't lying. He wasn't lying. I mean, and I wrote down some of these numbers so that I remembered, but 13,000 people have been allowed into our country who have been convicted of a murder. Over 400,000 actual criminals. And another, 100 and something thousand that were, that haven't gone to court for their crimes, who have been accused of crimes, right? Those are some staggering numbers. I mean, in over 15,000 people convicted of SA, that is insane. And like you said, it's not surprising when we see some of these, some of these instances of crimes pop up, right? People go missing and things like that. It's not surprising when you see these types of numbers. That is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. And Kamala is responsible for that. Kamala is the border czar. Now, I know they try to make it seem and sound as if she's not, but they were saying this a while ago. And we have the clips, and I've shown it before right here on the channel. But I want to get to what some of these voters had to say about what Kamala was doing visiting the border now all of a sudden, right before an election. Check it out.
Well, spoke with some of the locals right there on the ground that have been dealing with the truth for 3.5 years. Let's listen to what they have to say.
We have the vice president coming in today. Why do you think she's here?
Because she's the flip-flopper, and she's trying to get some votes at the last minute. Where was she 3.5, 4 years ago?
How do you feel about Vice President Kamala Harris's visit here today?
I'd like to be over in her face.
What would you tell her?
I'd say, it's about time you visited the border. I said, let me show you what it's really like.
It's all publicity. It's kind of like she's here. She doesn't care. She just cares about winning.
Why do you think she's here?
Politics, of course.
So you're not being fooled?
No, absolutely not. I mean, she's had, 3.5, 4 years to do something of some consequences and hasn't done anything. And I don't think she's going to do anything but carry on another word salad, I guess.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement just released a report that tens of thousands of illegal migrants with sexual assault records, criminal records have been released into the country. They don't even know where some of them are or even how they're going to get them back. How does that make you feel?
Pretty scared, but us living close to the border like that, this has been going on for almost 4 years now, so it's not new. It just needs to be stopped.
If you had a chance to talk to the vice president today, what would you tell her?
She's honestly not worth talking to. She doesn't have a clue what's going on in the country. She's just there for herself.
My message to her is go back to San Francisco and fix what you screwed up. We don't need you here telling us what we need, because it's obvious after 3.5 years of being the border czar, she hasn't got a damn clue what's going on and what needs to be done.
The voters have spoken, right? The voters have spoken, and you heard some of it there. But I also want to show you this clip of what Scott Jennings had to say on CNN. And it seems like Scott Jennings is like the only person on CNN that actually has some sense. He's been on a tear recently. It's honestly incredible to watch this guy. And like I said, I recently found about Scott Jennings just a few short months ago. And it's like every single day there's like a new clip of Scott Jennings like absolutely owning somebody on CNN. Most of all, Van Jones typically, right? Because Van Jones is typically on with Scott Jennings. And it's hilarious to watch it happen. And here's another instance. Check it out.
Be no love for me or Republicans for Kamala Harris today. In fact, I think the Trump campaign line today ought to be arsonist returns to scene of crime. I mean, look at the last 3.5 years. We've got the border has effectively been open, people flowing across. ICE today released information that there are 13,000 non-citizens convicted of homicide and almost 16,000 non-citizens convicted of some kind of sexual crime who are in the country right now. Only because we're in the shadow of an election is Kamala Harris trying to rush and pay some lip service to this issue as a tactical matter. Anderson, I don't think Harris should be trying to elevate this issue because this is the best ground from which Donald Trump has to fight. So, no, I think the Harris campaign is making a tactical mistake, and I think they have very little to say that the American people are going to buy on this today. Anderson, it's worse than that. It's not that it took them too long. It's that they actively worked to undo everything Donald Trump had done during his time in office. On the first day, they rescinded all of Donald Trump's border executive orders. The floodgates opened. All these people come rushing across. Then it becomes a political problem. And now at the end of the election, they want to blame it on Donald Trump. For her entire career, she has wanted a more permissive immigration structure. When she ran for president before, she wanted to decriminalize border crossings. In her heart of hearts, she wants a more liberal, permissive immigration structure. And in his heart of hearts, Donald Trump wants to crack down on the border. That's why when you look at the CNN polling this week, Trump is far more trusted on immigration than Harris. That is not going to change because of this visit today or anything she says today. The die is cast on this issue. If I were her, I'd want to bury this issue, not make it more prominent. But hey, if she wants to have border events, I think Republicans will rejoice because it'll increase the prominence of this issue for the last month of the campaign.
I agree 1,000%. 1,000%. I don't think this last minute border visit is going to change too many minds. Not at all. I mean, of course, you might sway a couple of people, that weren't going to vote for Trump anyway. Oh, look, see, Kamala actually went to the border kind of deal. But they weren't going to vote for Trump anyway, right? They were already basically in the door for Kamala, and that just, put them over the edge a little bit. I don't see this swaying basically anybody that was seriously in the middle, that could seriously go either way. I don't see it. And honestly, I should say this, excuse me. I don't see this swaying anybody that was seriously in the middle into Kamala's favor, right? I see this actually swaying people the opposite direction because one of the things that I've been noticing is a lot of people have actually been using some common sense and been calling out, the shenanigans and the charades and the playing of the games, right? People aren't buying the BS anymore. And it's a beautiful thing to see. It really is. People aren't just sleepwalking through another election again. And it's fantastic to see. But as always, let me know your thoughts and your opinions on this in the comment section below. Stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.